Wait for what? The Republic to fall? It already has, and you just can't see it. There is no justice, no law, no order, except for the one that will replace it.
Well, hello there, guys. Darth Christensen here, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. And as usual, these new episodes of Maul Shadow Lord were absolutely amazing. And I really think that Shadow Lord is shaping up to be the best animated Star Wars show since the Clone Wars, because now that the Empire is on Janix and the Inquisitors are in pursuit of Maul and the Jedi, and the stakes are ramping up every week. And I'm super excited to see where the story's going. And Maul himself, as usual, is super cool in this episode, because as at the start of episode 6, he's practicing his lightsaber forms. And it's very awesome seeing Maul switching between every lightsaber form, because in last week's episodes he was fighting with one hand while toying with Devon, so he was basically using Form 2, Makashi, which is the same stand as the Dooku was using. And now, at the start, it seemed like he was switching back to his traditional Form 7 of lightsaber combat, known as Juyo, where he uses his lightsaber staff, and that way, and especially that part when he tosses his lightsaber up and he ignites the other blade, and he's doing all of it with his eyes closed too. That was super cool. Maul at this point is very in tune with the Force, or is more than he ever was. So he's basically like a dark inverse of Qui-Gon, with how in tune with the Force he is. So that was a really cool thing to see. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was Marrok in this episode was so badass. I'm not joking. This episode literally, I think these episodes solidified and Marrok as being one of my favorite Inquisitors next to Trilla and the 11th brother, because of how menacingly he moves, and when he was creeping up behind Lawson while interrogating him about where to find the Jedi. And he was really he's scary in that scene. He basically kind of gave me Michael Myers vibes with how slowly how creepily he was moving in the shadows. Marrok here in this show was even more badass than he was in the Ahsoka show. And I definitely think that because he's a living being right now, I think that Maul's probably going to end up killing Marrok, and maybe his corpse will probably be buried on Dathomir, because that's usually where zombies get resurrected through Night Sister magic, and that would explain why Marrok in Ahsoka was a ball of green dust after Ahsoka cut him open, because he was probably brought back to life using Dathomirian magic. Because Maul is originally from Dathomir, I think it makes the most sense, and I think that Maul will eventually go back to Dathomir at some point, because he has 2 Zabraks on his squad. He probably got that from there, and I think it lines up very well with how there's some Zabraks right now on Dathomir, or like we see in Jedi Fallen Order. Speaking of which, another thing that stood out to me in episode 5 was when Marrok was searching for clues about Maul's whereabouts, and he was feeling the duel between Maul and Devon and his master. He was sensing everything that happened in that moment, so he's basically using Force Psychosis, which is the same ability that Cal Kestis uses in the Jedi games. So that was another really cool Easter egg to Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Same with last week, with how Maul basically made an upgrade to his lightsaber that he had from the end of the Clone Wars, where he can split it in 2, whose shorter blade is just like Cal in the Jedi games. So this really makes me hope we can see our favorite Ginger Jedi very soon. And I'm not joking when I say that Maul Shadow Lord probably has the best lightsaber fight since the prequels. Last week we had Maul fighting Devon and her master, which very much had similarities to when Maul fought Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in the Phantom Menace. That was a peak duel, and this episode had Maul and Devon fighting Marrok on a train, and just the animation for the lightsabers is so fucking beautiful. I love the way how the lightsabers are extra drawn up, and the way that they arc every time they swing. Every time the characters swing their lightsabers, it's such a cool way to do the animation. I really hope that they apply this to every single project going forward. And I also thought it was awesome when Marrok was using his spinny lightsaber, and then Maul also ignited his double-bladed saber. So he's basically showing these chumps how spinning a double-bladed lightsaber is really done, because Maul's a classically trained Sith, and he knows all of his lightsaber forms. And he knows all of the traditional lightsaber forms, and he uses Juyo for the saber staff, like I mentioned earlier. So that was insanely cool to see, double blade versus double blade on the train. That was next level. Now, the thing And also, I'm surprised to see that Master Eco Daki made it this far. Like, I thought for sure that the Inquisitors were going to show up this week. He can kill him, and that would push Devon even further to the dark side. But I think that's probably going to happen next week because with how the 11th brother from Tales of the Jedi is going to show up. So I think that the Inquisitors are probably going to end up murking Daki, and then that will push Devon even further over the edge to join in Maul and turn to the dark side. Because Maul will use that as a way to manipulate her and get her, and you use that as a way to make her believe that going up against the Empire will be the best way to get her revenge. And I even can see how Devon, I can even see in these episodes how Devon's a lot more open to Maul. Like she's starting to hear out, she's starting to hear him out a lot more, or about all of his valid points about the Jedi Code. So I definitely think that Devon should go dark and stay dark, or so they can basically they make her Maul's second apprentice after Savage. Even if she doesn't end up becoming Dark Talon, it's super cool, and like I said in last week's breakdown, and I think that this is basically like foreshadowing for when Maul tries to turn Ezra to the dark side in Rebels. So that was awesome. But the number one thing I wanted to talk about, and I think I'll spend the rest of the video talking about, is how the end of this episode basically just confirmed that Lord Vader himself is going to show up and get into a peak ass fight with Maul, because after Maul and Devon get away from him, Marrok goes back on the Star Destroyer, and he's talking to a hologram about how Maul is alive. And I definitely think that this could be Vader. Now, some people could also guess that this could be Palpatine, but realistically speaking, I think it's more likely to be Vader. Because if you really think about it, and all throughout the Imperial Day, Palpatine was a lot more lower profile. Like he wasn't really hands-on when it came to exterminating Jedi. And that was more of Vader and the Inquisitors. That was more like Vader and the Inquisitors doing, because they were a lot more hands-on in the action. So I definitely believe that Marrok's probably reporting to Vader about Maul's existence, and then Vader will send and the Crow Inquisitor as backup for him, and that will lead. Then after Maul kicks both of their asses, that will eventually lead Vader to having to get involved with Maul. Having to get involved with Maul, and that will finally give us the big lightsaber fight between the two best Sith Lords us Star Wars fans have always been wanting for decades now. And I've said it ad nauseum on this channel that I think that Vader should end up fighting Maul at some point towards the end of the show, because as Maul said that he couldn't defeat Vader in Rebels, and he also at the end of the Clone Wars he saw a vision of Anakin Skywalker turning to the dark side, meaning that he was trying to prevent Anakin becoming Palpatine's new apprentice, but obviously he failed. So I think it would be insanely cool conversation. It would be insanely cool conversation to have if Maul eventually figured out how that Vader was as the chosen one turned to the dark side, and then maybe he can bring up aspects of Qui-Gon's legacy, and that will send Vader into a fit of rage. That I think would be a next level lightsaber fight. And I also think that Vader's Clone Wars model needs to be used a lot more often. Vader's model in the Clone Wars style animation looks so awesome, and even better than his Rebels design. And if you really think about it, it hasn't really been that utilized that much, because we did see Vader in this style at the end of the last season of the Clone Wars, and also in Tales of the Empire for a few seconds. So could you imagine how awesome Vader would look, especially in Maul Shadow Lord's new gorgeous new animation style? Oh my god, I would physically start orgasming. That's how awesome he looks. But yeah, those are basically my quick thoughts on Maul episodes 5 and 6, and I am super invested and loving every aspect of the show. Because it's not only is it from the Sith perspective, but it also has high energy lightsaber fights, and it's showing exactly how terrifying the Empire can be from a former Sith perspective. And I really can't wait to see Maul fighting more of the Inquisitors, and that will probably get the attention of Vader. And I can't wait to see if Devon will actually end up turning to the dark side. Everything about this show, I'm just falling in love with it more and more every week. Huge congrats to Dave Filoni and Sam Witwer. They cooked up something amazing here. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown, and leave a comment down below. Do you think that Vader will eventually show up in this show? And who's your favorite Inquisitor design, and why is it Marrok or the Crow? But yeah, have a great rest of your day. May the Force be with you always. I cannot defeat Vader alone.
Yes, the one we've been looking for.
How do you know this?
He knows the ways of the Force. He's been trained to use the dark side.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.